And quite frankly, the facility, first class, it's nice for communities to have something like this where you can have a meeting with a bunch of people, and so it's great having a good venue. All right. Oh, by the way, we just talked about our great meal. Now, I know how this thing works a little bit, so I've been around for a while. So sometimes, you know, it's kind of warm in here, and you're full now. You're not dealing with maybe the most exciting topic in the world. Hey, don't be nodding off on me, otherwise we'll have to open the outside doors or something. But anyway, yeah, thank you. Let's leave the lights on, please. We're good. That's why I have a handout for you, so you don't even have to see the screen. All right, little quiz for you on some of the things that we talked about this morning. First one, how much nitrogen will likely be mineralized annually from a 3% organic matter soil? Which one is it? Number 3, it's 60 to 90 pounds. Don't forget about that. Also, as we were talking over the lunch break, Scott just said, hey, don't forget about the nitrogen that may be coming in the water, in the irrigation water as well. If you aren't testing your water, test your water. Between what's coming out of your soil and what's coming out of your irrigation water, you may not have to put any commercial nitrogen on. I don't know, but I'd at least be testing. Next thing, which of the following would not be considered a leachable nutrient? Which do you think? Number 2, ammonium nitrogen. It's positively charged, that will bind to your negatively charged soil. And then finally, roughly how much nitrogen can your soil hold at any one time and in the short term if your cation exchange capacity is 8? What's the answer there? 80 pounds, all right? Roughly 80 pounds. Okay, so let's go back to those first soil tests that we talked about. And one of the things that I would encourage you to do, especially because we're concerned about nitrate levels here, is like we did on this particular test. They tested 6 to 24 inches for nitrate only. Now, personally, every once in a while, I like seeing what are all the other levels too. But look at how much nitrate was in that 6 to 24 inch sample. 81 pounds? 81 pounds? That's a lot of nitrate. So I just encourage you, at least be doing some deep sampling. Find out what's there. You don't want to get carried away, especially early in the season. Later in the year, yeah, I get it. The crop's using a lot of nitrogen, leaves a lot of nitrogen, but test and make sure you know what you got in that soil. If all your testing is 0 to 6 inches, I mean, it's fine, it's better than nothing, but I'd like to see what's down a little bit deeper, at least for nitrate as well. All right. Anyway, in this particular test, the next test, this was actually, I believe, the top line is the top 6 inches, the next line is the next 6 inches that's in the soil. And sometimes there can be a lot of difference. And one of the things that I was going to bring up real quick, something you may never have heard of before, it's right over in the bottom right, it's called excess lime rate. So excess lime rate, what that is, that means there's a whole bunch of extra calcium, so much that it won't even attach to soil, it's just floating around, it's free lime or excess lime, however you want to call it. But anyway, when you see that as anything other than low, just know that your parts per million here on calcium are going to be overinflated, which will also overinflate your cation exchange capacity. So we don't have time to get into all this today, but I just wanted to show you that. So if you ever have any soil test questions, by the way, you can certainly email those to us. We talk soil tests all the time on a radio show, but we'll definitely get back to you on, I mean, if you send us a soil test and say, hey, what do you think of this? What should I do? We'll tell you. But anyway, if you always want to look at this excess lime rate thing when you're talking cation exchange capacity. If it ever says anything other than low, you know that chances are that's a little overinflated. It's probably a little closer to the 18 than it is the actual 27, because there's just so much calcium that's floating around in the soil. All right, so we go back to this how to read a soil test thing. Again, I just encourage you over the next few months, over the next few years, learn more about how to read a soil test. We just think it's tremendously important. And if you know how to do that, then you're going to be in a lot better shape on your farm, knowing how to make more money, how to raise a better crop. It's not just about parts per million, and it's not just about one nutrient. You got to balance out the nutrients, get the right things out there. I'll highlight two other real quick things for you as far as ratios go and balance. Something outside that base saturation test. If you take a look at number 8 and number 11 on that how to read a soil test thing, see where it says zinc? Take your phosphorus number divided by 10. I did not realize how big a deal this was until we started doing that yield versus soil test thing over the last 5 years. It's a much bigger deal than I thought. Now, it doesn't have to be exactly a 10-to-1 ratio, but what I'm saying is we've had some areas where, well, from time to time we overdo stuff, okay? And in some cases to learn, other cases because we're idiots. But the zinc, we pushed it so far in some cases, we had ratios down to 3-to-1 phosphorus to zinc, and that definitely hurt our yield. We also had it where it was 50-to-1 phosphorus to zinc, and that definitely hurt our yield. So here again, it's not just looking at parts per million. You've got to look at ratios and balance in the soil. So take your phosphorus number, whatever it is, divide it by 10, and that's in the general ballpark where you're going to want your zinc levels. And then on copper, it's the same kind of thing. What we found is it's somewhere around a 30-to-1 ratio of phosphorus to copper. Okay, 30-to-1 for phosphorus to copper. So those are just a couple other quick things that I would mention that we look at for ratios, we look at for balance, and it absolutely makes a difference in yield. And again, I didn't realize any of this stuff a few years ago, but the more testing we do, the more I go, oh, okay, I can see where we get that ratio way off, it's hurting our yield. And I don't care what crop we're talking about. All right. Switching gears just a little bit, I want to talk about ag chem prices this year. Every year, I put together a little summary on all these ag chem prices. So just so you know, we have a number of ag chem retail stores. We're actually the 8th largest ag chemical retailer in the country. And so every year when I'm training our people, after prices come out, I put together, okay, these are the things that went up, these are the things that went down. This is almost my entire list of things that went up. And here, for what went down, that's nowhere near my complete list of things that went down. And these are some massive things. Look at Liberty way down, Roundup down 53%, 2,4-D down 50%. I mean, Dual, Paraquat, Clefidem, silencers, pyrethroid. I mean, so much stuff went way down. So that's great news as farmers. The other thing that has been, there's obviously been a lot of talk about this in the last year, is interest rates. Okay, interest rates have gone way up. So what I would encourage you to do is take advantage of some of the cheap finance offers that are out there. In the last few years, we haven't had a lot of our farmers that we work with super interested in all these different finance programs because, quite frankly, for a long time, we could go to the bank and borrow money for 2%. It's like, what do we need somebody else's financing for? It's 2%. Well, it's not 2% anymore. So take a look at some of these things. FMC and Valent 0%, BSF 1.99, Syngenta, Bayer 3.9. There's some low interest rate finance programs here. And the other thing, this costs your retailer nothing. It costs you nothing extra. So I'd encourage you to take advantage of these things. The reason why the companies come out with these programs is so you buy more of their stuff. That's basically it. Okay? So if you're already going to buy some FMC or Valent stuff like we did on our farm, we're like, hey, why would I not do this? And also, I'd say do it now rather than in the spring. These finance programs will still be there for you in the spring, but if you do it now, you're going to get prepaid pricing, as opposed to if you wait till spring, you're going to get in-season pricing. Either way, you got to pay the bill next fall. Okay? But I would just tell you, you're going to get a better deal if you do this sooner rather than later. Next thing that we always encourage you to take a look at is return on investment. There are a lot of different ways to look at return on investment. So I'm just going to give you a quick example here. You can follow along with me. I just said here, full rate of Delaro, that's fungicide, after rebate, plus full rate of Mutex EDA, that's fulvic acid that helps the fungicide work better, and some zinc. If you did all that, it costs you $15. Okay? Let's say you did it on 1,000 acres. Let's say your corn is worth $4.50 and your average yield gain is 8 bushels when you're spraying. You can spray 50 acres an hour and you figure spraying costs you $6 an acre. You buy the fungicide, the Nutex in February, you sell your corn in November, 9 months later. So how much is your net return in dollars per acre? Just take your yield gain times $4.50 a bushel for your corn, it's 36 bucks. Subtract off the cost of the chem and the application, you made 15 bucks. Okay? How many total dollars did you gain on 1,000 acres? That's 15,000 bucks. And if you want to figure net return on investment, okay, it's $15 you made divided by the $21 total cost for the product and the application. That's 71%. Now, we're farmers, so we're usually talking in dollars and cents. That's what I do. But let's keep in mind, your banker talks differently. You've talked to your banker before, which is probably why you don't like talking to your banker, because they speak a different language. Well, that language is usually something like this. It's return on investment, or take it one step further, it's net APR ROI. That's a lot of abbreviations there, but if you're only borrowing the money for 9 months, and you made 71% ROI in the 9 months, over a 12-month period, so that's annual percentage rate, that's 95% ROI. Okay? That's slightly better than you're going to get putting your money in the bank, isn't it? And I just want you to think about this, because in a lot of cases, guys are like, I don't know. It's no big deal. I'm only going to gain 8 bushels. I got to spend some money, and I got to do the work. And look, if you're a trader on Wall Street, and there was something where you said, hey, there's a pretty good chance I can make 95% ROI, you're jumping on that all day long, right? So I just want you to think about this a little bit, because sometimes there's some of these things that, well, let's say it's inoculant, okay, or, something that's only going to cost you $2 or $3 bucks, and you go, it's no big deal, I'm only getting a couple bushels. Well, you look at the return on investment, it's really good. And here's the other thing. So I told you that bankers speak a little different language. My dad spoke a little different language as well. Now, most of that language I can't use in front of you, but anyway, one thing that he often talked to us about is how many dollars per hour did your job pay? His story was this. He'd always say, boys, if you want to be successful on the farm someday, you got to try to find jobs that will pay you $100 an hour or more and do those jobs yourself, and pay somebody else to do the $5 an hour jobs. Now, every time I tell this story, I always ask people, who do you think was doing my dad's $5 an hour jobs? Yeah, so Darren and I learned the hard way. But anyway, here's the point. How many hours did it take to do this job? And how much money did you make? We made $15,000 for a job that took 20 hours. That job paid us $750 an hour. And I realize this may be the first time you've ever heard this story, but I'm not kidding you when I say I think about this almost every single day of my life. And I don't care if you're a farmer, you're a banker, if you're in any line of work, it doesn't matter. The point is, it's time management. Think about what makes you or makes your company the most money. Spend your time at that, okay? Our dad's story was always, you can make $100 an hour or more doing your own planting, your own spraying, your own field scouting, your own tiling, and he'd go through this big list of jobs. And then he'd say, or you could hire somebody off the street for $5 an hour, like you kids, to go mow the lawn, paint the barn, fix the fence, things like that, all the jobs we had growing up, okay? I'm just saying, how do you spend your time? Think about that. It's the most important thing in my opinion. All right, changing gears, fungicide. This is an incomplete list, but many of the top fungicides are on this list. And I just put down product, full rate, approximate cost, and then I like breaking things up a little bit differently than a lot of people. So these are the 3 main modes of action. There's the strobilurin family, the triazole family, and the SDHI family. And what I do is I don't just put active ingredients down. I put, okay, what's the main brand of the stuff? Because I have a hard time remembering some of the active ingredients. So for example, BASF has this Veltima that's out there. Well, it contains headline. And many of us are familiar with headline for the last 20 years. Or Syngenta likes to talk an awful lot about mirrorless Neo. That's one of their newer ones. Well, it's just a combination of Quadris, it's been around for 20 years, Tilt, that's been around for 40 years, and then Saltro, that's a relatively new SDHI. So when you break it down that way, it makes it a lot simpler. So what we're always encouraging you to do is think about using multiple effective modes of action, whether we're talking disease control or weed control, doesn't matter. use multiple effective modes of action, and ideally I want to find the cheapest thing that gives me the best control. So that's why I'm always making comparisons. So just as a quick thing, I just mentioned Mirabis Neil. It's a decent product and all, but it's got quadrus and tilt that are both real old. Okay? So there's a reason why Valtima has been so successful in the market. It's got newer and way more potent triazole. And if you take a look at Delaro Complete and why they've done so well, Proline, it's not even in the same categories. It's so much better. And the SDHI is really good that they have Delaro Complete. And it's cheaper than Mirabis Neil. So there's a reason why some of these products are winning and some of them aren't. And when you start to break it down like this, you can figure it out. One other thing that I will mention just real quick, we have been using Xyway on our corn. That's the one that you use at planting time in furrow. Actually works pretty good, but I'll tell you one thing that's a little different. You notice there are two different formulations. It says Xyway 3D and it says Xyway LFR. The LFR stands for liquid fertilizer ready. So you can put it in with your liquid fertilizer and put it ready to furrow. The only problem with that is this. Have you ever really studied the liquid in-furrow systems on planters? Okay, here's what usually happens. We, a lot of times, I like to think about things that it works perfectly, works very well, and works consistently. So if I'm thinking about it, I think, oh, I've got whatever I'm putting out, 3 gallons, 5 gallons of my liquid fertilizer and insecticide or fungicide, whatever, and it's a nice even stream in the soil. If you ever look at your system, I encourage you, please do. It's probably not working that way. Here's the way most liquid in-furrow fertilizer systems work. They spit, they spit, they spit, they spit, they spit. And so when they spit, they do that right on your corn seed. What happens? Now you've got a much higher dose, and that's where we've seen some injury issues with both fertilizer and fungicide. Or if it spits in between the seed, well, now we didn't get as much performance. With that 3D system, it's something that FMC came up with a few years ago. What it is, it's just like when you walked into the restroom today, did they have a liquid soap or did they have a foaming soap? Why did they use a foaming soap? The coverage is way better. They can actually use a lot less soap, and you think you've got a lot more. Why? Because the coverage is so much better. They say the coverage is roughly 50 times what it is compared to the regular LFR system, okay, using the same amount of stuff. So that's why, so we have a group of farmers that we work with to do some trial work and stuff, test some different things out. And so a year ago, a bunch of us used Xyway, and the ones like us who used it in this foaming system had way better results than the people who did not. I'm just saying, it's quite a system, and it's something for you to take a look at. We put one of those on our planter, and I've been happy that we did. All right, next thing, pre-corn herbicides. So all these pre-emerge corn herbicides are shoot inhibitors. I'm talking about things like Harness, Surpass, Outlook, Dual, Zidua, and all the premixes that contain those active ingredients. Anyway, they're shoot inhibitors. So if you think about, I've got the weed, if I've got the seed here, and here's the soil surface, that shoot is in between the soil surface and the seed, okay, and then the root syrup below. So since they're shoot inhibitors, we want to get it in the shoot, so we want to keep it relatively shallow. But I'll say this, you farm in a dry area of the country, just like we do, okay? You can put the stuff on after you plant even, prior to emergence, but now you got to get a rain, and you got to get a good rain. And don't listen to the chemical companies that they tell you, well, ours will activate with a 1/4 inch of moisture. Well, sure, it'll activate, but it's not going to work 100%. I want stuff to work 100% if I'm going to spend the money. So you got a couple choices. Okay, I like incorporating, lightly tilling it in. If you don't want to lightly till it, by the way, I like that because now it places it down into the soil. It's right near where the weed is. Works great. So just run fast, shallow, works great. Okay, so I like that. Or I like putting it on real early. Okay, we'll use some of these pre-emerged corn herbicides. We spray a bunch in the fall. Fall works great. Or early in the spring works great. Okay, I don't care. I'm just saying that requires, or I should say, you get better control that way and you spend the same amount of money. Okay? Anyway, when we look at standard corn programs, we're usually talking about farmers. My first question is always, do you have conventional corn or do you have Roundup corn? Because if you have conventional corn, that's back to the old days when I was a young agronomist, when we just called it corn because there wasn't anything else. And the answer is always use a full rate of a pre-emerge like Harness, Surpass, Outlook Duals. You get great grass control. Your number one enemy in conventional corn is grass, because all you have for a rescue is axin. Okay? Roundup corn, a little bit different. I don't care so much what you use pre. If you want to use some combination, triple flex, verdict, soft verdict, all depends on your weed spectrum. And then a lot of times follow with an HPPD, a little atrazine maybe, and a full rate of glyphosate. Roundup cleans up grass seeds. People are talking about all these Roundup resistant weeds. I get it, but it's still great on grass. Okay? And it actually kills a lot of broadleaves too. So anyway, if you want to try one pass, there are a lot of guys that just go out and try one pass. I'm not telling you it won't work. I just don't like it because we don't get as good weed control. We typically don't have as much yield. But if you got a super clean field, you want to try that, sure, there are plenty of products out there that are going to tell you, oh, we can go one pass. So it doesn't usually work if you have very many weeds at all. All right, and then along those lines, how do I stop Palmer and Kochia? That's one of the questions that came in. Look, in corn, it's a grass crop. Palmer, pigweed, water hemp, kochia, they're broadleaves. It's not that difficult to kill broadleaf weeds in a grass crop. We have lots of options. I would just tell you my favorite product, or if somebody comes to me and I ask them, okay, well, what weeds do you have? And they say, all of them, and they're getting big, I say Status. Status is without a doubt the best product we've ever seen. It's amazing. And please don't think it's just dicamba. There is a little bit of dicamba in there, but the main weed killer, the active ingredient, is actually called diflufenzacapir. It's a different mode of action. There are no resistant weeds to that mode of action, and Status is the only product, Status and Distinct, are the only products that have that active ingredient in it. So Status is amazing. The thing that I don't like about Status is it's 20 bucks an acre, whereas the HPPDs are $2. So if you can get by with an HPPD, something else, great. Okay? Otherwise, if you have to spend the money, just spend the money, have it over with, it'll kill every weed you got. Beyond that, if you want to have great weed control, just raise the best corn crop you can. If you want to go narrower rows, you can certainly do that too. So, but just raise a good corn crop, and hopefully that's going to choke stuff out. So, speaking of that, let's talk about higher population versus lower. I told you a little earlier, we often see higher populations leading to more lodging issues. So here's our general advice. And this is also why we want you to read your soil test, because if you don't have base saturation potassium at least 4%, please do not increase your planting population dramatically. That could lead to a lot of lodging issues. We see that very commonly. So if you don't have adequate potassium, cut your planting population, please. Otherwise, it's going to fall over, you're going to have green snap, you're not going to be happy. Okay? So lower populations, do the poorer areas, lower yield potential, where you don't have as much fertility, that kind of thing. So we vary our population a lot. And by the way, a lot of guys I ask them, okay, you got a planter that'll vary population, how much are you varying it? And the guys will go, wow, I'm going all the way from 28,000 up to 32,000. I'm like, okay, you can do that. I'm not saying it's wrong for your soil, but on our farm, we're going as high as 36 and as low as about 18. Okay, where we have light, not irrigated ground, why would I put 30,000 plants out there? I don't need to. Okay, but also if I got super highly productive ground that's making 300, I gotta have some population there. All right, corn rootworms. Just a couple of things on rootworms. So they hatch based on heat, and so it really varies from area to area. Like where we farm, usually rootworms are hatching in late May, maybe early June. So here's the thing. Rootworms typically feed for about a month before they pupate. Okay? So rootworm larvae are attracted to carbon dioxide emitted by the corn roots. They only have a few hours to find a corn root before they die. And larvae can only move about 9 to 18 inches one direction or another to find their first corn root. So if you look at that, you go, whoa, how do any of them survive? Well, here's the thing. Each adult corn rootworm beetle female can lay about 500 eggs. So that population can explode on you real quickly. So we've seen a lot of these traits in the marketplace, and you've probably seen all these root digs out there. I don't have the picture in your hand out there, but a lot of people are doing root digs and comparing trait to trait and everything else. So I just wanted to talk to you real quick about Chrome, Smart Stacks, and Smart Stacks Pro. Basically, Chrome, you're talking 1 trait. Smart Stacks, you're talking 2. Smart Stacks Pro, it's got 2 BTs and then this RNAi thing. So first of all, what's the BT? So at the end here, we're going to talk just a little bit about talking to non-farmers and some of the things going on. But let me give you this right now. There are people out there that are concerned about BT corn. What is it exactly? You know what it is? All it is, it's a protein. It's a different protein that you and I can digest just fine. And so can animals, because we all have acid digestive systems. Rootworms, guess what they have? Alkaline digestive system. Okay? They can't digest that protein, so it gets in their stomach, rots their gut, and they die. Okay? I'm telling you this after lunch. Okay? Anyway, so that's the BT. Interestingly enough, did you know that for organic production, there is a BT that's identical to it? Have you heard of dipel before? It's been out for almost 50 years. That's a BT. All it is a protein that those bugs can't digest, but you and I and our livestock can. Why is it okay to spray it over the top of the crop, and it's organic production, but if I put it in the crop, oh my gosh, no, it's bad now. Come on. Okay? Once you find out the facts, it's like, oh, I guess, yeah, that really shouldn't make any difference. No, it does not. Let's talk about this RNAi thing. So, what the Smart Stacks is, it's got 2 BT traits. Okay, Smart Stacks Pro has this RNAi. What that stands for is RNA interference. So when the bug takes a bite of the root, or probably several bites, it's going to get this RNAi stuff in it, and it's going to tell, that RNAi tells the bug to stop producing a protein it needs to live. So RNA interference. So it's a totally different thing than, oh, I'm going to eat this protein that could kill me. No, it's going to tell the bug to stop making a protein. Also, since we're talking about the BT, and I was just saying, we want to talk to non-farmers about some of the things we're doing on the farm. I assume some of you got the COVID shot. Okay? I also assume some of you are completely opposed to the COVID shot. I don't care what, if somebody wants it, doesn't want it, whatever. I just want you to understand the science. Okay? When Moderna and Pfizer developed their COVID vaccines, it was unlike the standard vaccine, where basically they stick you with the needle, the vaccine goes in, kills the target, you're done. That's the normal vaccine. Here's how these things work. What they did is they stick the needle in you, and that vaccine does not kill the COVID. You know what it does? It tells the body to make a protein it wouldn't normally make, and that protein goes and kills the COVID. Does that sound like BT? BT produces a protein it wouldn't normally make, and that protein is what kills the bug. It's the same basic technology as we've used in corn now for decades. So when it came out, and it was like, okay, well, you can have the Johnson & Johnson shot, or you can have the Pfizer or Moderna shot. I said, yeah, I'll take the Pfizer or Moderna shot. Totally familiar with the technology, perfectly comfortable with it, it's great. I'm not making a decision for you, I'm simply saying, I'm familiar with the technology because we've used it in ag for years and years. Also, I find it interesting that, number one, did you know that Europe, in the European Union, they had to change their GMO laws? Because Pfizer and Moderna went to them and they go, guys, we got a problem here. We can't develop, produce, or distribute our vaccines in the European Union because of your GMO laws. So they had to change their GMO laws. So think about that for just a second. And also think about who is mostly opposed to GMOs. It's a lot of the same people that were telling you and me, oh, you have to get the COVID shot. And I'm like, come on, you guys. You don't like it over here, but all of a sudden now, oh no, that technology's great. Good grief, it's a bunch of people that don't know the facts on either side, and they're just changing as the wind blows. All right, moving on. There are no rescue options for rootworm larvae. Foliar applications if you want to kill the adults. So like we do on our farm, we raise a lot of continuous corn. We're right next to a big dairy. A lot of guys around us are raising continuous corn. We have a massive corn rootworm problem. One of the biggest in the United States. So we are using Smart Stacks Pro. We are using full rate of insecticide in the soil. We are spraying foliar to kill adult corn rootworm beetles. And then one of the important things, in any other crop, if there's volunteer corn, we're killing it as early as we possibly can. So in our area, a lot of soybeans are raised. And a lot of guys spray post-emerge in those soybeans at least twice. And a lot of guys say, you know, I'm just going to wait for the volunteer corn to get a little bigger, wait until it's all up, and I'll spray it on my second pass in the field. And I go, wait a second here. The rootworms only need a month to feed on corn roots, and then they're going to pupate. So by the time you spray your beans the second time, go kill the volunteer corn, it's like you never had any rotation. Because you have the volunteer corn that the rootworms could feed on for that month, and now they beat your rotation. Spray your volunteer corn early in any crop, please. Otherwise, you've got a host for rootworms. There are a lot of great corn soil insecticides. The dry products are a little bit more effective than the liquids. We like Capture LFR. It's real easy. If you want to go with liquid, we do like that. I will say Index is a little bit better, but it's a lot more expensive. It's just a combination of Capture and it's got Fortress or an organophosphate in there. There is a new one out, new mode of action entirely too. BSF has Nurisma. So if you raise wheat and you use Taraxa as a seed treatment, it's the same stuff. So Nurisma, good new liquid, not cheap, but it is an entirely new mode of action. All right, dry beans. I do have a sheet for you in there on dry beans. I'm up to whatever page, let's see. What are we at? Page 17. So I got a big sheet in there. I'm not going to go all through everything, but I would just say what I put up for you on the screen is just the top of that page. There's 1 through 3, and there's 4 and 5. So the big thing is, I just tell you this. In dry beans, we don't have a lot of great rescue options. We've got Pursuit and Bassiran, that's what's in Briscoe, and we have Reflex. Almost just generic Reflex. That's it. We don't have anything else to kill broadleaf. So if you've got ALS-resistant water hemp or Palmer or kochia, Pursuit's not going to do it. We know Bassiran's not that great on that stuff. That leaves you with only Reflex. It's not the greatest thing in the world. Certainly not bad, but it's not the greatest thing ever. So I usually tell guys, get 2 modes of action pre-emerge. Okay? Personally, I like Spartan. If I can use some Spartan leaf that's got dual or trifluralin, something. Get 2 modes of action pre-emerge, please. That will help you a lot. Same thing in sunflowers. Get 2 modes of action pre-emerge. That will help you enormously because we just don't have the great options post-emerge like we do in a lot of other crops. That's probably the #1 thing I'll say. And beyond that, I just say consider fungicide. We have a lot of dry bean producers we work with up in North Dakota, for example, using fungicide at least once or twice. Clethodim would kill your grass and volunteer corn. And AC97 is just foliar fertilizer. So we're usually doing a lot of things in dry beans besides just, oh, we're going to throw out a little bit of herbicide. Okay, we're trying fungicide, foliar fertilizer, maybe even some biologicals. Silage corn. I just say, and everybody knows, you plant a little later, corn's a little taller, but I would say this, you can use gibberellic acid too. So we get questions about a lot of these biological or natural products. I'll sum it up for you real quickly this way. American consumers and our government hate pesticides. Okay? Unfortunately, they also hate biotechnology too, which I think is ridiculous, but whatever. So what they want is they want more of these biological type products to be used. So now there are billions of dollars getting spent on research and all these things. Well, gibberellic acid is something the plant will naturally produce. It's a growth hormone that basically tells the plant to grow taller. Okay? So what we do is spray gibberellic acid on the silage corn. You can do this in pastures as well. It'll work great. is we're trying to trick the plant into thinking things are better. So here's the way it works. As the weather warms up, your plant naturally produces more gibberellic acid. So that's why whenever it's warm, then you always see, hey, stuff's growing faster, whether it's my grass in my pasture or my silage corn. So all we're doing is spraying the exact same growth hormone out there to get the plant to grow taller. Works great. We use it on our silage corn every year. Okay? And I would use it in pastures too. It's awesome. Obviously for silage corn, we'd like plants that are a little bit taller. Don't run short on nitrogen early in the season. So again, this is a little bit of a challenge for you if you're trying to not have it end up in the water, but we also don't want to run short on a crop, but we're trying to push that growth as much as we can. We want to get that plant as tall as possible. If you do that, though, you've got to make sure you have enough potassium out there. Okay? Otherwise, you have more lodging and more green stem. Also, if your manganese levels are low, your corn will be shorter to make manganese more available, because a lot of you are dealing with high pH. We have some too. Use a little bit of ammonium sulfate, elemental sulfur, something like that. That can help. And again, I just want to remind you, if your livestock are short on any nutrients, the odds are very high that your soil is short on those same nutrients. So take a look at it, see what you have to supplement for your livestock, then go back and look at your soil tests and see if you're low on those same nutrients. All right, alfalfa. I got one slide in here on alfalfa. I really strongly encourage you, if you are seeding alfalfa, use Eptam. It is by far and away the best product. And you might say, well, I don't really need a pre, or I'm going to use some trifluorolide. Trifluorolide is hard in the alfalfa and you can't use enough. Trust me, use Eptam. It has to be instantly incorporated. You get fertility in it, but it is fantastic. Okay, anytime we're seeding alfalfa, that's what we're using. Post-emerge, you don't have many choices. And this is why you want to use Eptam. Because post-emerge, all you got is either Raptor or Pursuit. They're basically about the same thing. You got Buttro, and you get an ounce of Butirac. That's about it. Otherwise, I mean, Clethodim or Select Max for grass. So your post-emerge options are almost nothing, especially if we're talking kochia, palmer, water hemp. You're not going to kill them very low post. You got to start pre with Eptam. Phosphorus and potassium, here's one of the big things. They don't move well in soil with rain like we talked about. So before we seed alfalfa on our farm, we're putting 3 to 4 years worth of phosphorus, potassium, zinc, copper. We're putting it all out there and down in the soil. And you might say I'm nuts, but keep in mind, it's not going anywhere. But you're going to be way ahead than trying to go, oh, every year I'm going to top dress some more P&K out there. Come on. You're going to top dress your P&K, it's not going to help your alfalfa crop much at all. It's going to help your crop or maybe somebody else's crop 3-5 years down the road. So let me say this. So when we were growing up on the farm, times were tough. It was the 80s when I was in high school and college. Okay, my dad passed away about 5 years ago, and I have now seen all his records to back in the 80s. I got everything, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a miracle we're still here. It's a miracle he didn't go broke. But one of the things he would often say is, hey, if you ever get a good year, invest more in fertilizer. Just put more P&K out there. Okay? And that's great to talk about. And he'd say, it's like putting money in the bank. And that's true, except for it might be somebody else's bank account. Okay? What I'm saying here is, like on that alfalfa deal, let's say you've got your stand out there for 5 years, you're top dressing P&K every year, you're not using that. That's going to be left for whoever farms the ground next. Now, hopefully it's you. But if it's granite ground and it's going to somebody else, they're getting your P&K. Don't do that. Okay? I mean, if you want to help your neighbor, great. But help them some other way, okay? Put your P&K down before you start. Put it down in the ground. On our farm, we are spraying between every single cutting. You can see what we're doing. We're using plant growth hormones. That's Mega Growth Boost 10 is amino acids. Again, Mutex is fulvic and a little bit of zinc. Water-Right and BioPrep are super cheap water treatments. We're using a micronutrient package and insecticide. So we are throwing a lot of stuff at it. But even in our drought that we had last year, it was amazing the alfalfa we had. But I'd say this, you always want to make sure you're scouting for everything like insects. We don't want you just spraying insecticide for no reason at all. If you don't have harmful insects, don't spray the insecticide. The other thing is, the shortest pre-harvest interval is Mustang Max. That's 3 days. Almost all the others are at 7 days. So that's why most people are using Mustang Max in alfalfa. Okay, so just make sure you're scouting before you're going to cut. Where we get most of the calls is it's guys after they've cut and they go, yeah, my stand's not coming back very well. Like, oh my gosh, please, next time, scout about 10 days before you want to cut. If there are bugs out there, get it sprayed, so that way, after you cut, things take off again right away. Foliar insecticide families. I'm not going to go all through this, but I just wanted to show you this. There are some resistant insects out there. Don't get too worried, because look at all these different chemical families. They aren't labeled in every crop, but I'm just saying we have a lot of different chemical families. Again, Mustang Max, that's in group 3A, it's a pyrethroid, that's what I was just talking about. Also, we were talking alfalfa. Alfalfa weevil larvae, there's this product called Stewart. We're seeing some alfalfa weevil larvae resistant to some of the pyrethroids in Minnesota, and some guys are using Stewart. But here's what I want to show you. Look at that cost. We did a little bit last year on some adult corn rower beetles. 15 bucks. Okay, how much does Mustang Max cost? Right here, $2. I like 2 rather than 15 as a farmer. Okay, so hopefully the $2 option continues to work for you guys. Otherwise, there is the $15 option if the $2 one doesn't work. Last thing is Lorsban. I don't know if you've heard this yet, but Lorsban, they just won this big court thing. Basically, what happened is there was a judge a couple years ago in the most liberal court in the country in San Francisco that decided, despite what science said, oh, Lorsban's too dangerous and EPA, you need to take it off the market. Well, the court now said, yeah, EPA, you don't get to do that. You have to actually go by science, and the science says Lorsban should still be here. So Lorsban's coming back. Your questions. So one that came in is, what are some alternative methods for noxious weeds like biologicals? When I was even when I was back in college, I went to work for FMC for a little while, who at the time was basically an insecticide company. I worked for them a little bit in college and a little bit right after college too. And it was great because growing up on our farm, I don't know if we ever sprayed for insects, so I learned a ton of entomology stuff. And FMC had hired a lot of great former university entomologists. So one guy they had hired, his name was Ben Kantak. He was South Dakota State's entomologist for like 30-some years. So anyway, I was talking to Ben about this exact question, and this is probably 35 years ago. And I said, Ben, what do you think about, some of these other methods? Like, there's some bug that will kill my Canada thistle or whatever. And he goes, Brian, here's the thing. I'm an entomologist. I'd love to see bugs killing all our harmful stuff, whatever, that's great. He said a lot of times we bring things into this country thinking, oh, it's going to do this great for this thing over here, and then it becomes a problem in something else, and then we have to try to kill it, and we got a real issue. Okay, look at how many ornamental plants have become some of the worst weeds we deal with, and so on. So, anyway, I just say, sure, I'm interested in looking at some possible alternative methods, like insects or whatever to kill weeds and things like that, but I'm usually pretty careful and cautious about that. And also, I would say it takes time for some of these things to work. So whether it's some biological option, some bug or whatever, it may take a lot of time. And if something is causing damage to your crop, you need it eliminated now. So that's one of my concerns there. So hopefully we end up with more options in the future, and I'd like to see more biologicals, or we call them natural products, that will actually kill weeds and bugs. But right now it's a lot of plant growth hormones, plant stimulators, and all that kind of stuff. That's more what we've seen than anything else. Next thing, soil health and weed control. This question came in, and I didn't fully understand it, so I'm going to throw a couple things out. I changed the wording a little bit. Are there negative soil health impacts from spraying herbicides, and are herbicides more efficient in a healthy soil? So another thing my dad told me on the farm several times is he goes, Brian, you know when you have the most yield? I thought, what do you got for me today? And he goes, if you never had to spray a herbicide and you could just magically wave a wand and they'd all disappear. Because he said, don't forget, every herbicide has to get metabolized by the crop. which means it's going to take some energy, which means you're going to hurt your yield, maybe not a lot, maybe only 1/10 of a bushel, but it's going to be something. It's going to be something. But there's always the trade-off, okay? Would you rather spray the herbicide and kill the weeds, or would you rather not spray the herbicide and not kill the weeds? Well, obviously spraying the herbicide is going to be very beneficial. Will it hurt the soil health? I want you to think about this for just a second. If we raise more crop, let's say that our corn yield is better. Do we have more roots out of that corn? We should, which hopefully is going to mean we get a better chance to build more soil organic matter, and hopefully we have more soil life. I could argue both ways on this herbicide thing and it hurting or not hurting soil. I personally am of the opinion, though, that it's probably going to be helpful. However, I will say this. Weeds are also plants that also can build soil organic matter. It's just, unfortunately, weeds don't pay very well. So if we're trying to, and I heard somebody early this morning say something about sustainability. I'm here at this meeting it's going to be talking about sustainability. I got to be honest with you. I hate the word sustainability. You know why? What does sustainability actually mean? It means this. I'm trying to sustain. You know what I want? And honestly, I think why God put us on this earth, it's not to sustain anything. It's to make stuff better. I want to make things better. I want our crops to be better. I want to produce more food. I want everything to be better moving forward. And I don't think we can get there very well without using herbicides. I really don't. And are herbicides more efficient in a healthy soil? I just know this. If we do everything we can to raise a great crop, and we have our soil super healthy, then that crop a lot of times can choke out weeds. And so our herbicide looks like it worked better, because it did kill the weeds, it worked the same. But it's just now your crop's taken off, it's growing so well. Crop canopy is the best weed killer there is, flat out. Okay? So I always want to make sure I'm raising the best crop possible. And if I'm in a crop where I don't have a lot of herbicide options, like even last year we raised some conventional soybeans on our farm. I put them in 30-inch rows. And then we had a drought. Normally our beans get to be shoulder high or more, so we don't have any issue choking out the weeds. The last year we had drought and a lot of our beans were only knee high. Okay, if I had put those beans in 10-inch rows with a drill, I'd choke the weeds out just fine. As it was, I had a few late season weeds escape on me. I've got some more stuff to finish up today, but Scott, do we have more questions that have come in? Anything else you want me to address? Anybody else want me to address anything? Otherwise, like I say, I got a few things for you at the end here.
Just one more question I have. Any concerns with the XY way close to the seed?
Oh, the xy. Yep, the xy way close to the seed. Okay. So to go back to that, I didn't address that. Xyway is a triazole. And what triazoles do in plants is they will actually inhibit gibberellic acid. Remember what I said about gibberellic acid? What does it do for plants? Helps them grow taller. Okay, so that's why sometimes if people get too much xyway on the seed, then they will see stunting of the plants. It will be shorter. Typically isn't going to hurt yield, but it will look bad, and I don't like when stuff looks bad, okay, because not only do I feel like I have to impress everybody on our farm and my wife, but, I don't want the neighbors thinking I'm an idiot. So, and also I don't want non-farmers driving past any of our stuff going, oh, it don't look like those guys know what they're doing. We kind of like to make things look good. So again, with the xyway thing, if you have the right liquid in-furrow system, or put it this way, if you just ran with more gallons, let's say you go, well, I got the right mix, and I'm doing 3 gallons of fertilizer in this xyway LFR stuff. Okay, we'll put water in there. Put 10 gallons of water in. Now, I realize you don't want to carry the water, I get that, but I'm just saying, now we have a more consistent stream and a better spread. Okay? That was a trick, by the way, we learned from the first guy in the United States who raised 400 bushel corn. His name was Francis Childs. He was over in eastern Iowa. And I don't know if you heard of him or not, but this is about 20 years ago. He's raising 400 bushel corn. And of course, when you hear this, and like in our farm at the time we're raising Iowa, call it 150, 60 bushel corn, we're like, is that really real? So my brother Gering goes to eastern Iowa, and he went to visit Francis Childs. And Darren went there, and Darren's a sharper agronomist. He's a much better field agronomist than I am. And he's doing stand counts, ear counts, everything. And he called me after he left Francis's place, and he goes, well, Darren, was it real? And he goes, not only was it real, I saw some stuff that's going to be way over 500. He said, it is legit. But anyway, one of Francis's big things, by the way, was high potassium, also high iron. But high potassium was a big thing for him. But anyway, he was talking to Darren about this infertile stuff, because he was still getting gain, even though he has tremendous fertility in his soil. But he was still getting gain from using a little bit of in-furrow fertilizer. But he said, I run into issues with a hurting seed sometimes, so what I do is I add a bunch of water to it, so now I've got a much more even and consistent stream. So you will safen that fertilizer, you'll spread it out better, and it will work better overall, and you won't have the crop issue. And the same thing with zyme. To take it a step further, if you want to use that foaming system, that will make it even safer, give you even better coverage and better response in our rates and our charts. All right, so any other agronomic questions, anything else that I can address for you? All right, otherwise, last few things that I've got for you here. Let's talk a little more about speaking to non-farmers. And let's talk global warming. Now, I'm going to guess over the holiday season, you had a few relatives or maybe friends that came in and ate with you that they don't farm, but they may be telling you how to farm, or telling you all the bad things we're doing on the farm, right? And one of the things people want to talk about is global warming. Well, carbon dioxide is the #1 greenhouse gas. Here's the good news. That's what plants breathe in. If you want to, I should say, pull in more carbon dioxide, just raise more yield. Okay? The more yield you have, the more carbon dioxide you will pull in. Okay? So, now, I'm not saying you have to believe in global warming. I don't. I think it's cyclical. But if you do, fine. If you don't, fine. Whatever. The fact of the matter is this. A whole bunch of people in our world believe in that. And there are a whole bunch of people that are willing to spend not just a little amount of money, but literally trillions of dollars to try to reduce carbon dioxide. So what I often say to farmers is this. There are carbon credits that people are going to pay for. What are those? What does that mean? Okay? All it is this. They want you to pull carbon dioxide out of the air with your plants, but then store it. So how do you store it? In your soil, you build soil organic matter. What we talked about this morning, benefits of soil organic matter. Build your soil organic matter up. So what I'm saying is, there are people that are willing to pay you a lot of money, or eventually they will pay you a lot of money, to just raise more yield and make your soil better. That sounds like a home run to me. So whether you believe in carbon credits, you believe in the carbon dioxide thing, you believe in global warming or not, who cares? Take the money and run. Okay? It's fine. People want to pay you to make your soil better. Go for it. The next thing. A lot of people are saying, well, we got to go to battery-powered cars and wind towers and solar panels. That's nonsense. Okay? None of those things can be below zero on the carbon index scale. They can't. Plus, have you seen what it takes to make a battery-powered car, a wind tower, or a solar panel? And worse yet, how about to dispose of those things? When I dispose of my corn, I don't have any harmful things going in the environment. With all those things, terrible, horrible for the environment. And they can't get below zero on the carbon index scale. The only source of power that can be below zero on the carbon index scale that I know of is biofuels. That's it. And you might say, wait a second. I thought, they're saying us as farmers are doing a horrible job and we got all this carbon dioxide, we're going up. No. If you build your soil organic matter, you can get below zero on the carbon index scale. That's a fact. Okay? So we can produce biofuels and we can be below zero on the carbon index scale. You can't do that with those other sources of power. And we're super environmentally friendly. Okay? Next thing. Chemicals. Did you know that glyphosate works on an enzyme found only in plants? Found only in plants. There's no possible physical way that it's going to hurt us as human beings. Okay? Now, I'm not saying there might be, sure, there can be some inert ingredients or whatever, but the active ingredient glyphosate, that's not hurting anybody. And by the way, we heard last spring, oh, there's rainwater now that's falling from the sky with glyphosate. And I'm like, oh my gosh, no there isn't. So we've tested rainwater in several different states now. There's no glyphosate in there, tested all the way down to parts per billion. Next thing, Lorsban is going to be coming back onto the market. It was a day or two after the court case that said, hey, Lorsban's got to be back. Well, there are a lot of environmentalists out there that are sore losers. So they start making up nonsense. Here was the most popular one within a couple days after this court ruling. It said that the Nazis were the ones who developed Lorsban to kill the planet. I'm like, oh my gosh, come on. It was developed by Dow Chemical, and EPA's own data shows it has many safe uses. And then finally, why are ag chemicals under such attack when every day people are using dozens of chemicals, including household cleaners, shampoo, soap, perfume, toothpaste, baking powder, alcohol, aspirin, sunscreen, mouthwash, that not only are they willing to put on their body, but in some cases in their body. When you look at any substance we've got, food, pesticide, anything, the government has what they call a lethal dose, 50%, or LD50 for short. It shows how much does it take of any substance to kill 50% of test subjects. It's measured in milligrams per kilogram of body weight. And again, all food protection products have LD50 data available for you to see. Okay? I realize this is kind of a morbid thought, but I just want to show you a couple things. So, I see some of you out there drinking water. Did you know water will kill you? So I converted everything, I weigh roughly 200 pounds. So I converted everything as milligrams per kilogram of body weight. It's like, oh, that's confusing. So I converted it into how much would it take to kill me? Well, 50% chance to kill me. If I sat down right now and I drank 18 pounds of water, I would have a 50% chance of death. Seriously. Okay? Again, the dose makes the poison. Take a look at glyphosate. 5,600 milligrams per kilogram, or in other words, 18 ounces per 200-pound person. Okay? 18 ounces doesn't seem like a lot, but there have been some reports out there of, well, we're finding a little bit of glyphosate in the cereal or something. It's like 10 parts per billion. I want you to think about this for just a second. I just looked this up yesterday because I was curious. In a lifetime, how much does the average U.S. male eat in pounds? Anybody know? 75,000 pounds is what they came up with over the average person's lifetime. Men, of course, women I'm sure don't eat that much. But anyway, the point is 75,000 pounds. I just want you to think about this for just a second. Okay, 75,000 pounds. How many ounces would that be? What do you have to multiply times? 16. Okay, so what is that? Roughly 1.2 million? Something like that? Okay, so when I stop and think about that, I go, all right, if I had 10 parts per billion, let's say I had 1 part per million that I found in something. Okay, run the math real quick for me. 1.2 million ounces of stuff that I'm going to eat in a lifetime. We just determined that was 75,000 pounds times 16. So we converted to ounces. That would mean in my entire life, if I found something that, oh, it's in all my food at a level of 1 part per million, that would mean 1.2 ounces over the course of my life. Okay? So just think about this for a second. Take the 1.2 ounces. I want you to divide that number by 80 years that you live. Divide that number by 365 days of the year. Divide that number by 3 meals per day. And that was if we were at 1 part per million. With some of these, now they can detect down to parts per billion, even if it is 10 parts per billion. What are we talking about? It's nothing. It's nothing. So again, the dose makes the poison. Just because we found something, and part of the reason why this is one of my last things for the day is, I want you to think about the exact same thing for nitrate. Just because we found nitrate in the water does not mean it's bad. In fact, in South Dakota, in my county, they were talking about regulating tile more heavily. So I got involved with that. I got on this committee in this group, and I literally went to every single stream we had in our county. Every one of them, looking at stuff, testing, everything else. And I also talked to our state in South Dakota, the leading guy in water quality. His name is Delwyn DeBoer. He's with South Dakota State at the time. And I go, Delwyn, so right through the city of Sioux Falls, with the county that I'm in, is the Big Sioux River. It flows through most of eastern South Dakota. I said, talk to me just a little bit about nitrate in that water. And he goes, yeah, I'll tell you about nitrate in the Big Sioux River. There's just not enough nitrate in there. I go, wait, what did you say? He goes, yeah, we're finding levels that are less than 1 part per million, and we need it to be much higher than that. I go, what do you mean you need it to be much higher? He goes, just to keep all the things that would normally live in the river, we got to have a little bit more nitrate than that. The levels are too low. I said, Dylan, I got some people I got to have you talk to. Okay? Now, unfortunately, here in the groundwater, we've been finding levels much higher than 1 part per million. Okay? So, I just encourage you, always be thinking about how much do we have. If we're over 10 parts per million, we know we got a problem. Okay? Now we've exceeded the drinking water standard. But we want to be testing. And if we aren't testing, then we don't know what we've got. But you look at the tests that they've run in this area, we've seen a lot of high levels. Okay? So we got to do something about that. We are to the point where it's a problem. All right. Finishing up on this particular slide. I want you to look at table salt and atrazine. They have the same toxicity level. And then look at some other common things. Okay? Tylenol, OxyClean, hydrogen peroxide. Oh, here's caffeine. Did you know that it would take 15 times more atrazine to kill you than it would caffeine? And I see some people drinking coffee, and I get it, you know. Probably today, maybe you needed a bunch of that caffeine. But I'm just saying, caffeine is way more deadly than a lot of these things on the list. And look at caffeine versus glyphosate. Okay, it's not even close. It doesn't take much caffeine to kill you in comparison to glyphosate. Nicotine, gasoline. By the way, I'm guessing in the last week here, maybe in the last day, you've been to a gas station to fill up. Okay? When you went to pump that gas into your car, did you put on personal protective equipment first? Did you put on a respirator first? No, of course not. We laugh at that, right? Well, wait a second here. Why are we trying to ban all these pesticides when literally gasoline is one of the most toxic substances on our planet, and we're handling it every day? I see people all the time. No personal protective equipment, spilling it all over. It's on my hand, whatever. Oh, I'm going in to eat a donut. Oh my gosh, I just consumed something that's way more deadly than anything I'm going to ever work with on the farm in terms of a pesticide. Seriously. It would only take about that much. You drink that, you're dead. Okay? But, oh, gasoline, whatever. Gasoline, by the way, also has benzene. That's a proven cancer causer. And it's got xylene in it. It's horrible for you. Oh, then the last thing on my list, something the EPA calls extremely toxic, is something your doctor may have told you you need to take some of this. It's vitamin D. Look at EPA. It says it's extremely toxic. Okay, so before we ban all the pesticides, let's look at what's the dose. Acres TV, if you haven't checked this out before, I really encourage you. This is a free streaming platform. And if you don't know what I mean by a streaming platform, ask your kids or your grandkids. They'll help you out here, okay? But this is a way that you can watch a lot of great ag shows, and our show is on there too, for free anytime you want. So check out Acres TV. You can get it right up on your smart TV. There's an app. You can watch it online, however you want to watch these things. In terms of upcoming schedule that we have at our place at Baltic, right on our farm, we've got a naturals workshop for biological, soybean workshop, a Neil Kinsey seminar. This Neil Kinsey thing, by the way, he's one of the world's leading soils experts. He's going to do a 3-day class on soils. And you might say, oh my gosh, it was enough for me to sit here for 3 hours talking about soils. But I'm serious, if you want to know a lot more about soils, come to that. And also, one of the guys that does a lot of work with him, a guy from out in California, is going to come and talk a lot about irrigation, saline, sodic soils, stuff like that. It will be really, really good. Also, all those things will be live streamed too, so just go to agphd.com if you want to learn more about that. A couple other things we do every year. We host this Scouting and Scholarships event. We give away over 100 college scholarships that day. You have to be in person to win one, but if you know anybody going to college and you want them to learn a little more about ag, send them to that. And then our Ag PhD Field Day. We usually have about 10,000 people that come from all over the country for that. It's right on our farm there. And there was a picture of last year's event. We'd love to have you join us for that. It's the Ag PhD Field Day. It's always the last Thursday in July. Again, just go to agphd.com to learn more about any of that stuff. So, my closing comments are this. It's not too late. Before regulations, and especially health regulations go into effect, you can make some adjustments to your nitrogen program to reduce nitrogen loss, which will also increase your net income. And then finally, my favorite verse in the Bible is this. It's in Colossians. It says, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as if working for the Lord, not for men. So, give it everything you've got. You can raise better crops. I know you can do it. If you need any help with this nitrate thing or anything else, please just let us know. We're here for you. There's some of my contact information, like you can email us, radio@agphd.com. You can give us a call during our radio show. We take live phone calls every day. Our TV show is on Tuesday nights, and we do have an Ag PhD magazine as well. That's all I've got for you. I just want to thank you a lot for being here today. Thanks for taking the initiative in this. Thanks a lot to Scott and the board for having me out. I really appreciate it. I'll be around here for just a little bit, then I got to get going. But thanks. It's been a lot of fun, and hopefully this is helpful. Thank you.
This has been just totally awesome this morning. Appreciate you spending some time with us today and talking through some of these things that we have going on in our district. We're going to take just a few minutes here. We rearrange a few things, so we're going to have a little bit of a break. So if you wouldn't mind, take a little break and come on back here in a few minutes, and we'll get started again.